Oh, Erica's here. Okay, so I'm gonna do roll call. So so Crystal, write everybody who is present so we know who we have. I'll call everybody's name. So we have Erica Cooper.
Present.
Ted Chang.
Here.
Elena.
Here.
Howard.
Present.
Barbara. Here. Robert.
Here.
And Andy. Andy, unmute your mic.
He's on the field.
Okay. So we'll I guess we'll start because I guess Michael come in late. So did everybody get a copy of the minutes that for our last meeting that was sent out by Ted? Was it you that sent it out, Ted, or Elena?
Yeah, I sent it out. I sent it out like a couple of days.
Okay, so did everybody agree with, is there any changes?
Basically, we have the minutes from the March meeting, and then we have 2 sets of minutes from 2 different meetings in April. So, but
so we have to
all out under the same email.
Okay, so let's get, does anybody have a copy? I mean, we have it on our phone, so I guess we'll get it. We'll get the minutes from our March meeting. I'm trying to find mine.
Yeah. Pick up 2 bottles of water.
All right, so is there any changes for her March minutes?
I got something. Yeah, man.
Somebody mute Andy. I want to be the host again.
No, I don't have any changes.
I think you're still, I'm not the host.
I am not. No, can you? Crystal is the host now. Crystal, can you mute?
Crystal, mute Andy's mic, please.
What is it? What's the name on here?
It's gonna say
K.
Okay.
Coming downstairs.
Andy. Andy, we saw you play games. Now we see you eat and networking.
So do we approve March minutes if there's no changes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I make a motion.
That.
We make a motion to approve the March minutes.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
Everyone in favor?
Did you get that?
Everyone.
Everyone's in favor?
Unanimous.
Everyone in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All
Yeah,
of us.
so we have 1, 2,
Aye.
4, 5.
I like this sum up thing. That's what we should do.
7. We have 7 members.
Yes.
So
Okay, so all in favor?
anyone opposed?
No.
Good. All right.
Okay,
March
moving
minutes are
on.
approved.
So we go into what? April?
Now the April 2nd minutes.
April.
Motion to approve. Does anyone have any changes?
Nope.
No, I have no changes.
Okay, so does everyone, a motion to approve the April 2nd?
Second.
Yes, I agree. I second it.
Okay. Thumbs
Okay.
up?
4.
All right, now for the special meeting.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so the motion passes 7-0.
Yes.
Okay, and for our business special meeting in April was what? April 23rd,
22nd.
22nd. Is everybody agree with it?
Paula wants to say something, but she's muted.
I have a concern about them because there's a lot of people being quoted, and specifically, and I've been working with Crystal and VJ. These were the first minutes that Crystal did, and some of the things she quoted people, and specifically the one I focused on was the one that the remarks that were. I guess I would say the remarks attributed to me, they were not correct. And I know you guys, this is the first time and she had the recording. So we wanted to have a chance, and I had spoken with DJ to correct those minutes, because you don't want to put out something, for example, that says that, FACE is helping with devices. We're not. So I just wanted to.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. If you have changes,
Okay, so we'll put that one aside we'll review that
please.
put it aside for our next meeting. Next
Yeah,
month.
I think you need, especially because Crystal is new, taking minutes, especially minutes for something that then is publicly distributed, that's not, you need to kind of be aware, and it might take a little bit more time. Crystal was working with a lot of different systems and stuff, so it will take her a little bit more time. And VJ, was looking at that as well. Who had the recording for that?
I think
Crystal-
Elena.
No, I was not a host last time. It was VJ.
Oh, I think VJ have it then. Okay.
Okay, so I think they will just have to get, I remember, Crystal, one of your concerns was whether your device could actually play that, or, it's really useful to go back to the recording. But as for what I said, I know, but I don't know about the others. If there are any corrections about the others. But I want to make sure, VJ was very concerned about making sure that everything was correct and not, there's a tendency to put in too much in the minutes. So.
Right.
All right.
I did that in the beginning too, remember?
Okay, so thank you, Paula. So we'll save that one for our next meeting. We'll just put that on hold for now.
Okay.
Crystal, put Micah present. He's back. Please.
Yeah, welcome, Micah. Yeah.
Thank you for coming back, Micah.
Yeah. Hey,
Elena, just out of curiosity, since the hosting got transferred to you for this meeting, did you record locally,
No.
or you recorded to the Zoom
Cloud.
server?
Yeah,
The
cloud.
Okay.
I don't have space on my server to keep a large file of 2 hours plus.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not crazy.
Okay, good.
I know my technology. I pick the cloud. So whoever has account is gonna get the email.
Okay.
Okay, so we're moving on. Now we're moving to Crystal. He said administrative assistant website responsibilities. Is that what the Zoom that we had talked about, Paula?
No, it's
No,
updating the
no,
website.
that was responsibility for connecting with the website. The guy who does the website, or whoever manages the website. Normally, that would be the responsibility of the AA, but I don't know enough. I mean, this is something that VJ would have been here for. So what I wanted to talk about, which I don't think is on the agenda, was Zoom. So we are so happy. But now what Crystal's gonna have to do is to set up a different account under the DOE's license. There is I think the memos are being distributed. It just takes a long time to get them out. There is a web address in that memo, and that is a dedicated is a dedicated site for the DOE Zoom accounts. So she will set it up through that address, and then she will be the host. The recordings will be sent to her and all that, which actually feeds into getting her a better piece of equipment. But that's all set up. You don't have to pay anything, and it's a pro account, and there won't be any issues.
Can I just make a point?
Yeah.
So, when that happens, you're gonna cancel my account?
Yeah, I mean, you can actually most likely cancel your account now, because the way these things work,
Right.
you just set it up, right? But they work by month, and Crystal's the one who actually did the paperwork. So usually, just to make sure that you don't get automatically rebilled, you can just cancel it now, and it won't cancel it as of today. Crystal, make sure that that's the case. It usually cancels it. It doesn't auto-renew. That's what happens, because you've already paid for the month.
Well, can Crystal?
Can I make a point? Can I make a point, please, when you finish?
Yes.
Can I interrupt just for a second on the payment?
Okay, go ahead, Mike, and then we hear what Andy has to say.
So I give Crystal the information. So can she cancel that now? Because I don't have that information.
Yeah, I don't think so. Crystal,
Mm-hmm.
you should be able to cancel. You
Okay.
have.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah, I was told when I called Zoom, because it's a CEC28 at schools account for Zoom. That's what VJ used to create it. We just used Micah's credit card to pay for it. So in order to cancel for Micah, I would need to do that at least 2 weeks in advance before the next bill comes.
Yeah, so they don't bill him again.
Right. So I can, technically we paid for May, no?
Yeah.
They're in May,
need
so I
to
guess
check.
for May. So you have to cancel it by before the end of May, so you don't get charged for June.
Gotcha. Okay, so I can do that.
Thank you. Okay.
Go ahead, Andy. What did you want to say?
Sorry, Andy.
I wanted to say, right, that Paula, as you would have remember that before the pandemic, I've reached out to you to get the finances in stock. What is the position now with this pandemic? Can we do it remotely so that I can start getting, because I know the deadline for the finances have been extended until October, so I want to get everything in order. So for October, I can look at what's going on, what we need to get, if there's any outstanding money, and get all accounts in perspective and in line.
Okay,
So now that we have an assistant, I think that the job will be much easier now.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, most transactions are really the responsibility of the administrative assistant. The treasurer for a CEC doesn't work like a treasurer for a PTA. They're basically making sure, in fact, the position, just like the position of recording secretary, is not even obligatory. The only obligatory position is president or chair. So the administrative assistant really is the one that works with the SGO. And the treasurer's position is to kind of make sure that those things happen. So you will be working with, once, Crystal, do you have access to Famous now?
No, not yet.
Okay, well, you'll get it very soon. And then, you guys can communicate with the SGOs on deadline and stuff.
Okay. For
yes.
Crystal, if you don't have my email address, my email address is gnight73@gmail.com. You can email me at any time. And my phone number is 347-613-11559. You can get me at that number at any time, Crystal, so that we can go through this.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy.
Okay, so we was gonna have the treasurer's report. But Andy already made his point, so we'll move on.
Move on.
Yes. So is there any old business that we have left off that we have to discuss at this time? No old business? Oh, and I'm gonna put, since VJ is not here, I'm gonna just leave out the website responsibilities for our next business meeting so he could explain that to us, right, Paula?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think she's already, Crystal, you're already doing some of that anyway, communicating, sending stuff or posting to the webmaster or whoever maintains the website, right? So that's already started in some way or another.
Well, actually, Crystal doesn't do it right now. It's going through me, and I usually CC VJ on whatever I do. But I think basically, like, we can just go ahead. I mean, basically, I think we just need to sort of like agree that Crystal should also be involved in that process to the extent that she can be involved. Like, I'm sure there are some routine updates and things that she can absolutely take care of. There are some other things like the minutes, for example, particular need to be reviewed by the CC members before they go up. So like, I think certainly on the routine stuff, once we get into sort of a routine, she can probably just, email some stuff directly to Marisol, who handles the website, and then those could just go automatically. For example, like not right now, but traditionally we have like a superintendent's report they email us a copy and we need to upload that to the website. So things like that. Things like the meeting the calendar meeting announcements, certainly, she could be forwarding those to the website administrator. More content sensitive stuff, probably, email me or VJ and just, sort of get an idea of how sensitive it is before you email that to the website. But certainly, I have no objection to more involved. Certainly would help. In fact,
we'll just leave that and we'll discuss it next at our next business meeting when VJ is here, so we can all decide on what's gonna happen and what's going on.
Okay.
Is there anything new?
Yeah, I mean, I have some website related stuff that I guess. Paula, the last check-in we had, we talked about using this new CEC email address, and so our current website still has the old email address.
Wait, Ted, I can't hear anything. Something's going on in the background.
Can somebody mute Andy, please?
Mute Andy's mic. That's what the feedback.
Just mute everybody.
Andy, thank you. Okay.
Sorry, Ted. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, the website currently has the old email address, and now that Crystal is on board, I think we had talked about this last time that we need to migrate to the new email address so that she's getting everything. And so I just kind of want to put that out there that before I send that request to the website administrator, that is sort of, I assume we're all on board, and that's what we're supposed to be doing at this point, so that all our email now goes to new official email. So, does there anyone have any comments on that, or? Okay, and then I guess the old email address.
Ted, you made some good points. I don't have to add anything to that, but the only thing I would like to ask Barbara is like the schools in our community, right, where a lot of African American children are kind of like lagging behind. And now they're going to be promoted to another class to follow and to our new assistant. What is it that we can do? Because I'm in the community working with some of these children, but what information do we have in terms of helping these children who would have been disappropriate and so on, and now they're going on to a higher grade? I think that would be a challenge for the next grade of these children.
Paula, you want to answer that?
So I couldn't hear everything, but here is
what he's saying. Hold on. He's saying for the kids in our communities that otherwise wouldn't move on to another grade would be kept back because their grades is not up to par. Now that they're moving on, what are some of the things that we could do to to help them since they're moving on without even having the proper grades? That's what you're saying, right, Andy?
Yeah, basically that's what I'm saying in a nutshell, yeah, because some of them were already struggling in the grade that they're in. Now, some of them would be going on to another grade where the work is even going to be more challenging. Then we have the remote learning that is problematic. Some people don't have, access to the iPad as yet and all of these things. In the community perspective, if we have anything in place for that, for these struggling children.
So I was actually, just after we ended the previous meeting, I spoke again with Judy Villeneuve, and she, promotion and summer school is really under the first deputy chancellor. She is, she's looking to come back and sort of do more, because this time she had just been appointed and I had suggested her and we kind of got her, like a on the fly sort of thing. So her presentation was very brief, but she's offered to come back and do a more fleshed out presentation, maybe with soliciting questions in advance specifically on promotion and summer school. Enrollment is something else, right? Admissions and enrollment is from a different office. As far as, the CEC itself has sort of limited ability to do anything other than advocate for policies in one way or another. In other words, you couldn't like open a, you know, an after school program or well, I guess now there isn't anything like that, right? But you would be able to affect the policies by advocating with people like, you know, people like Judy. That's why the first deputy chancellor, you know, hired somebody. They actually created that position specifically to gather input, you know, and do engagement on promotion, summer school, and, you know, and help given the consequences of the remote, you know, the shortcomings of remote learning. So that's what you could do is basically serve as a forum for community concerns and information. There's not, you know, the CEC doesn't do specific programs, specific, doesn't really hand out specific help. Does that?
I mean, what I've heard,
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that with all of the policies and all of the talking, right, it's the actual material is not reaching in our community. It's only going to specific community. It's not reaching our community. So what I'm asking for is meaningful commitment to our community. The policies is there, Paula. I'm not beating up on you. I understand what you're saying, but the actual material is not meeting our community. One of the reasons why I'm on the CDC is to make sure that the materials reach in our community. I want the materials to reach in our community, not just the meeting and the policy, the actual meaningful change that the parents are looking forward for the children. Because our children are struggling. They are struggling. And this is even going to put the children far further back.
So here's, you know, one avenue. One of the things that you can do, CECs are actually supposed to liaise specifically with SLTs. Because that's, you know, that's where you know what's happening at the school level. The SLT represents the whole school. And there should be an opportunity in even now to revitalize the SLTs now that we know, for example, that they can also meet virtually. You can participate in some ways. Virtual meetings are easier in some ways to participate in, right? Because you don't have to schlep anywhere. What we had suggested to, you know, in other contexts is that members already have a school liaison list, right? All CECs have already done it. They did it before the pandemic. That you do keep in touch with your schools, especially through the SLTs. And, you know, and then also, you know, the responsibility essentially to connect with the schools and to make sure that the individual schools and the students at individual schools have what they need is really at the superintendent level, right? You're right, the policy is there. That's not necessarily the issue. The issue may be how that policy is implemented in particular schools. And those are conversations to be had at the district office with the staff, the district office staff that has responsibility for parent engagement, for, you know, whether it's parent coordinators are supposed to go and make sure that, you know, the parents, that they contact the parents. The family support coordinator is also supporting the individual families and students. So that's the structure, basically. Central is the policy, and you can give central a forum for the policy to be both formulated and transmitted. But then really, where the rubber meets the road really is at the district office.
Can I address that for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Andy. This is also to Andy's point, because he's talking about specific schools within a specific community. And I had the same concern. And when I was starting to look with the whole Zoom issue, you know, and DOE was saying, well, it's coming back. Somebody said to me, are you in touch with your school liaisons? And I said, well, you know, we can't get there, and now you don't let us use Zoom. But the point was being is that there was a movement afoot, and I think this is a good idea. We all have our school liaison assignments, and we got caught up in the diversity plan, we got caught up in this and that, reaching out to the different schools. But now I think, Paula, your point, maybe perhaps to Andy's point, is that through the remote system, not remote learning, but through the remote system, through our Zoom account, if we can all access it or Crystal can connect us, we can now perhaps even more effectively connect with our specific schools, reintroduce ourselves, say it's a new era, what do you need? Like Andy says, his schools, they're not getting the material. Who are these people? What do they need? So my suggestion was going to be, can we just move forward on what, if DOE is going to give us Zoom, can we all just contact our principals that way if we're not allowed to meet, in the school with them, something like that?
Well,
Micah,
SLPs are supposed to meet. Let's take a step back, right? There was a lot of time lost because no guidance came out. But the SLTs are bodies subject to the open meetings law, just like you guys are.
Right.
So when the executive order was issued, allowing remote meetings for bodies subject to the open meetings law, that in a way should have been the end of it. There was a lot of confusion. Clearly, principals who actually called the meetings were busy with other things. Let's put it that way, right? But really, the meeting should still be happening, and the guidance that came out is pretty clear that the meetings should still be happening. Then there was some issue, and
Can I chime in on this, Paula?
Hold on a second, Ted. Let Paula finish, and then you can talk after.
So, the SLT should have met, and part of the SLT mission, is to see the implementation of the CEP. Well, if you have a whole marking period, months of remote learning, how does that affect, the implementation of the CEP? Both the access, the device, the access, the appropriateness of teaching to the devices that are distributed should be part of that conversation, because how can you sign off on a CEP if you don't know how, if you have some notion that not everybody is actually getting the wherewithal to actually, to learn. That's where I would go, would be with the SLT.
Okay, go ahead, Ted.
Yeah. I mean, I was just gonna sort of agree with that. A lot of I guess it depends on the school, but my impression is that some of the schools are doing the SLT meetings virtually, the same way that we're doing the CEC meeting, and so it's actually easier for us to attend those meetings now than it might have been before, especially because everyone's home and everything's very flexible now, so it depends on your own schedule. But and it depends, and of course it depends on how responsive the principal and the members are there. But I was able to reach out to one of my schools, and they use Microsoft Teams for their SLT meetings, and so they put me on their SLT. They put me on the guest, and then they send an invite very similar to a Zoom invite, and I was able to just click on it and then participate in the SLT meeting, and that did give me kind of a better ground level sense, to sort of speak to Andy's concern. It did give me a better sense of what is happening at the ground level at that particular school, to the extent that how many people are actually participating and getting devices, and what are the issues there, so I think that was helpful to try to understand, how remote learning is affecting those schools. And I know Andy's sort of concern was more sort of a general concern about how is this remote learning impacting our struggling students? And, I know there have been various forums around the city addressing grading and things like that. Just some of the things that I picked up from some of those forums, was that like, I think that no matter how well, the schools do remote learning, it's still probably not going to be a replacement for, in-person learning, the traditional learning. And so no matter what they do to sort of implement it now, I think the expectation is that in the fall, if we have in-person learning, that, just system-wide, there are going to be gaps that need to be filled in, no matter what school you're at, no matter who the child is. Like that was the impression I got, that the DOE is sort of, they will need to, sort of the teachers will need, at the academic level, are going to need to fill gaps, because there's just been this massive, change in the system, in how instruction is delivered, and there's just no way that it's going to be the same as it was before. And so I think the school, I think next year, my impression is that they're looking at next year is that, in addition to just what they're going to cover next year, I think the teacher is expecting that they're going to be addressing sort of their individual children's needs, where the children are coming in this year. And some of those kids are going to come in with missing part of this last, marking period. Some of the last marking period, what normally would be there might not be there, and they need to sort of help those kids come back up to speed. So that was the impression I got from some of those gradings.
Thank you, Ted. Also, there was a lot of concern from parents about live teaching, that their school wasn't fully getting links from YouTube to do the lessons. Some of the schools was Harsley, 157, Forest Hills High School, and most of the high schools that we are not responsible for, but they're in our community. And most of the high school parents was wondering what's going to happen, because the high schoolers was not linking with anybody personally. They was just getting the link through YouTube to do their work, and there was no kind of help or support for these.
Barbara, just to help you out, any parents you're coming with, any parents you're coming in contact with, just tell them, let the high school students type in log on to open an account on Khan's Academy, and any topic that they're doing in high school is on Khan's Academy, and it is also done via YouTube video, and it teaches them step by step, and trust me, it works. Any parent, any high school parent, they can also take the SAT practice test on Khan's Academy. All the materials for the high school kids are right on Khan's Academy. Any parent you come in contact, so everybody just pass it around Khan's Academy. They definitely will get help.
Okay, Andy, thank you. So Paula, what should I do for the middle schoolers? Should I reach out to Dr. Pate and give her the names of those schools? What do we do?
Yeah, that's a super important issue. Do reach out to her. I have a practical suggestion though. I think Crystal should, and this is normally done at the beginning of the year, and maybe it was done at some point, but Crystal should ask for a list of dates of the SLT meetings, right? Some may have changed because now they're online, so.
Can we actually, sorry, Paula, to interrupt. Yeah. Can we actually ask Crystal to reach out to the schools and invite us?
That's what she's saying. Or she's asking for Crystal to get a list of the SLT meetings from all the schools and send it to us so we know.
No, but not only that. Can somebody mute Andy, please? to add us, because they know that we are the representatives, right? And Crystal has our CEC email addresses. To add us to the invite, whether we can make it or not, but then we at least now have it on our calendars.
Yeah, so here's what I suggest, because I've done a lot of this kind of interfacing about SLTs. I don't know whether they really send out invites. They're supposed to, I don't know. So you could go both ways, but the other thing would be to have Crystal have a list of the SLT dates, because they do have to have them, and go both ways. You can ask them to add you to the invite, and if they don't, Crystal can send you, can send the invites, can send calendar invites to all of you for the schools that you guys are liaising with. So you get it both ways. And you don't have to be invited. You know, you can just show up because it's an open meeting. The other thing that Crystal can do is, you know, go back again, build a relationship, start building a relationship with a view to what's going to happen when, you know, when we actually go back into school buildings, introduce you to the, you know, to the principal, because I think that process was a little bit like it got interrupted somehow, mostly because, you know, after Phyllis left, there really wasn't, you know, constant presence in the office. So that.
Hold on a second, Paula. Could everybody mute themselves, please? And just let Paula speak because.
Okay. So anyway, it's a 2-track process, actually 3 tracks now. One is you have Crystal writes to all the principals to add you, the individual. I don't even know where the school liaison list is, but somebody must have it, right? I don't have it. So to add you, you know, as when they send out the SLT notices, number 1. And then number 2 is to have a list, ask for a list of the dates. The superintendent's office should have them. This is not, you don't go building it principal by principal. These you know, that the superintendent will have it. And then thirdly, to reach out to the principals and kind of introduce each of you as the liaison to the school, because those are different conversations, right? What at this SLT, regardless, unless you're invited to speak, you would be an observer, just like people are only observers to your business meetings, right? But but with the superintendent, you could have a different conversation. So that's.
Okay. So what you're saying, Paula, before we was reaching out to the principal because we didn't have an administrative assistant.
Right.
So now that Crystal is here, that's her job for her to reach out, introduce herself to the principal, let them know who is their liaison, which you'll get a copy of
Right.
from the superintendent's office, right?
And not just principals, maybe principals and parent coordinator?
Parent coordinators, okay.
And you really do need, you deal with principals. Remember, you are more up there. It's really the parent coordinator is, you know, you're really the liaison to the school, not so much like to the PTA, to the parents, etc. I mean, you represent the parents, but you're really, you know, you can include a parent coordinator, absolutely. But remember that you're, like when you go visit the school, if this were an actual school visit on the ground, you would not be arranging it with a parent coordinator. You would be arranging.
No, you would arrange it with the principal.
Right? And you would be arranging it through the administrative assistant. Get more and more flowing through the administrative assistant, more things flowing through CEC28 at schools, so that you have a structure in place, you know, by the time we go back and you don't, you know, so these people know your face, they, you know, you've talked about things. Yes. Sorry, Micah.
Can I make a point? First of all, I think this is a very good idea. I know because we received this documentation a while ago. The Superintendent Pate's office does have a list of all the principals and the principal people, and we are on, and we have a list of our liaison duties. So we may be a little bit, I mean, there are more than 45 schools, so it's a lot of work for Crystal, but we may be overthinking it a little. I think Paola's idea is she sends out a letter saying, you know, the way I understand it, Paola, sends out a letter to all of them saying, here's your liaison, please put them on the list for your SLT. By the way, I'm happy to introduce this person to you, and then maybe we start doing that either through email. I mean, when I talked to DOE, they were saying a lot of the principals use Zoom because they were curious that we hadn't reached out to some of the principals. I said, well, you know, we didn't have an AA diversity plan, yada, yada, yada. So they were saying that Zoom wasn't just for big meetings, but they said, and they were indicating that we would get a platform, a Zoom platform. So
yeah, but you can also use, you know, for DOE, like on these invites, you can also use Teams. I mean, it's the question is not the platform. The question is to establish a structure that, you know, is, you know, has a kind of a centralized and systematic way of of contacting people and of, making sure that the information is somehow collected and processed, et cetera. So that.
And I think that's kind of stepping back. I mean, remember, we came in, everybody knows there was no AA, immediately the huge crisis of the diversity plan. So we never really got that fundamental block of, and I know we were all trying to meet our meet our principals, to get our schools meet our principals. I think that's even more critical now because of the huge issues that will be facing us in the summer and in the fall. So I don't want to, nobody wants to throw, hundreds of pages of work at Crystal, but there should be a way where, Crystal, you can think about this, where basically what we're doing is, what we want to do is introduce or reintroduce the CEC members to their school liaisons. Crystal, we've all picked about 6 or 7 schools that we are kind of responsible for. And the idea was we would meet them and we would go and see them, but that got interrupted and people didn't know who we are and all sorts of things happened. So, you can speak with me, Crystal, or Paula, or anybody.
Who has the list? That's the most important thing. Who has the list?
Or if you're confused, what the hell are these guys talking about?
Don't worry. Don't worry. We talk. We talk a lot.
The list of all the schools that's on the website.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Whoa, what was that? Ted, Walter.
It's already on the website with all our names and
right.
With all our names and everything on the website.
Right, Barbara. Yeah.
Okay.
So if Crystal goes on the website, it will say CEC members, and then you'll see all the schools but some of the schools like TWILS, which is the Young Women Leaders Academy, doesn't have a parent coordinator.
Right.
And the website for the principal is not up to date. And some of the schools, the principal's website is not up to date because they changed principal, like 72 and Redwood. Their list is not up to date because the principals the email that we have is for the old principals, not the new ones. So then you have to go through, I guess, DOE, right, Paula, to get those information.
Yeah, it's it's a little bit of getting up to speed, but it's not that difficult.
Okay.
Excuse me, Barbara. Young woman leadership, you don't have a problem with that. I know the coach. I know half of the school, the track team. That is not a problem for me. I know the teachers. That is just a phone call away, and we can get any information you need. Email me. I can get it from the coach and from the teachers because I deal with those kids, getting them into college, so that's not a problem.
Okay, thank you, because they don't have a PC.
I know that. Is the coach there? We kind of like trying to build back it, so we can get it. I can get everything for you, not a problem. Just email me or text me, and I'll get it.
Okay, thank you.
Question, Barbara.
Yes.
Did Anise have any schools? Because she's no longer here, so you want to make sure to redistribute those schools if she did.
All the schools that Anise have was with one of us because he was the English language learner, so she goes with everybody to every schools.
Okay.
So that can be covered. We just have to, if they speak that language, they must have somebody that could interpret. But she was like piggybacking off everybody.
Okay.
And go to every school with everyone because she was the L representative.
Okay.
So that's fixed because she's not here. So everybody still have their school assignment. She didn't have a particular set for herself.
Yeah, one thing we want to work on with Crystal is to send out a notice to recruit another L parent.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're working on that.
Okay, so we'll put that on the agenda for next time.
Yeah, but before, well, that doesn't even need to be on the agenda. I mean, you just have to fill the vacancy. She can just circulate some sample, circulate the notice for you guys, and then because there's no need to wait for another meeting.
Okay.
The other thing, I wanted to make sure you guys don't want to go because we need to talk about money.
Yes, we're not done yet, Paula.
Okay, good.
We're not done. So anybody else have anything to say?
Barbara, you need to move forward faster.
Huh? Yeah, we're going. So if nobody, okay, Micah, go ahead.
I just want to say very quickly, I think the idea of connecting us to the principals and to the SLTs is a really great idea because it'll put us in at the ground level or Andy has been working at the ground level forever, but some of us have been trying to get down into that, with the teachers, the principals, the SLTs. So I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so now we're gonna move on. We're gonna discuss money, Paula, and then we'll adjourn if we don't have anything because we have nothing else. Okay. But we're gonna discuss all the money we have waiting at the DOE before they take it back from us.
It turns out we don't take it back. It goes back to the city.
Well, the city won't take it back from us because we need it.
So Crystal, did you get an updated budget from Dragomira? How much money do you have in which lines?
No, she never answered me.
Okay, I don't have the budget again, and Crystal doesn't either. So this is what I think we can do. The DOE has reopened, is reopening the budget next week. So any budget modifications would have to be voted on and I think submitted. Let me make sure. Actually, it's just the budget mod window. So
I'm in a meeting, you cannot distract and get in.
DOE will reopen the budget modification process to allow the CECs to align their budget to current circumstances. Special budget modification window will begin on Monday, May 11th, and end at 5 p.m. on Friday, May 15th. Now, you guys, there are different rules now that will apply, not to how you submit things, but different kinds of things that you can spend money on. One thing that I see that you have 22, you originally budgeted $2,200 and $2,200 in meeting expenses. I believe that the most you spent was maybe like a couple $100. That's to reimburse VJ for what he bought, the stuff he bought. I really don't think you spent more than that. So I would think that the mod would be to reallocate $2,000 from that line, from the meeting expenses line to equipment.
Okay.
Allocate 2,000. And you're taking this down, right, Crystal? Very faithfully. You need to quote that. I'll do it as well. But it will also be on the recording. But don't count hours on the recording, right? From meeting expenses. I'm actually looking at your original budget. Then you have $1,500 in postage. I have no idea why you would have that much in postage. Nobody mails anything anymore. If you've ever tried to mail anything, you'll know that it's like 60% comes back. So that is to equipment. I would also allocate that to equipment, and I can explain why. So that would give you, if you did that, right, 2,000 plus 1,500, that's 3,500. Crystal absolutely needs a good computer to work.
Yeah.
And it really should be a laptop because, she's right now
remote.
Yeah.
I don't know many people who type fast enough. I mean, I've seen Elena do it, but I don't know if people, when you take minutes, really you have the recording. If you're like, secretary really takes minutes, you really have to be awesome to actually type.
I cannot handwrite. I'd rather type.
Right.
I'm slow writer.
But for vote counts, for things like that, I mean, but anyway, so the laptop to take to meetings has a kind of it's not as, it's useful, but most schools, you have to keep in mind, and most schools don't have sufficient Wi-Fi, so it's not like you're going to be able to do things with it. But the fact of the matter is that she needs one now. in her house because what she has is not adequate. So she looked on the, for equipment, you really have to look on Shop DOE because it has to go out with a purchase order. And she has looked through some things. You found, what did you find for a good laptop? Did you find the Lenovo?
Yeah,
Or was
she
that just
sent
the
the list to
desktop?
Yeah.
She sent us some. So can we vote on that now?
You can. The only thing is I didn't see, what I saw was a MacBook Air. The problem with MacBooks for the DOE environment is a Windows environment. You start, MacBooks just don't work as well.
No, she sent us a list, and if you scroll, I don't know, maybe it didn't show for you, but if you scroll further down, I think she just sent us a list of everything that was there. So that was the first one. The MacBook was the one on top, and then below that was a Lenovo, I believe, and then there was a separate something else. I don't remember.
Yeah, there were lots of pictures.
I think the Lenovo's were desktops. Those were workstations.
No, but there was definitely a different laptop too. It was a
Chromebook.
Crystal,
Well, what I sent was MacBooks, right? Only because of the camera and for Zoom. And I sent Lenovo desktops and recorders. That's what I sent.
That's for grandma.
And you sent Chromebooks as well.
But the Chromebooks are pretty low end. My impression is
well,
pretty low end.
Chromebook is not good. I work in IT, guys. Did you look at the HP at all?
HP. I'm gonna have to look on Shop DOE to see if it's one of the contracted equipment vendors.
It has to
be HP.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at this. You could do this. You could use it as a tablet. It has a camera. It's touch screen. It's amazing.
Hi guys. I just
Elena, you get a connection
real
on
quick.
this?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Erica.
Okay. Is there anything that we have to vote on? Just that is, I'm getting a little long-winded, and I just need to.
No, we don't have anything to. We were gonna vote on the computer, but it's not the right model, so we're not voting on. So you could go, Erica. Thank you for being here. Feel better. We'll talk to you again. Okay.
Feel better.
Okay.
Feel better.
All right. Take care, guys.
Evening.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Take care.
I don't think you need to vote on a specific computer. It's just that, but the problem is that, bye, Erica.
Bye, Erica.
Bye, sweetheart.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Feel better.
Feel better.
Okay.
See you next
Thank
time.
you.
The problem is you have to vote on a specific amount, or at least an amount that will allow her to buy, a good enough piece of equipment. So I would think, judging by the price of the MacBook Air, $2,000 for a laptop for DAA is about right. That's my impression.
I
fine.
agree with that.
Well.
I agree.
Hold on. Well, Paula, we still have enough members. If we have to vote on that, we still can vote on the amount, the $2,000 for the computer.
Where do you see $2,000? The MacBook Air is $900 in the attachment. $976.
I thought it was 1,800. There was one that was 18.
There's an Air and a Pro.
A Pro is $1,328.
Yeah, I think $1,300 would be
$976.
like the desktops are more expensive because they're much more powerful. But the laptop, I think for about $1,200-1,300 you can get a really high-end PC laptop.
And you had also voted. You had already voted on a desktop, which I don't know where it is in here because I'm only looking at the original budget. So let me explain what I was kind of thinking about. The SGOs are really overwhelmed, so I think that's why she wasn't able to really send out the latest budget. You could move all the money now that I see here, and if that doesn't work, can you guys commit to a special meeting next week, just a very short special business meeting?
Yes, we can do that, but I need to, as the treasurer, I need to have at least a say in this buying of the laptop, because I think that $2,000 computer is too expensive, because I buy computer and TV computer all the time, and I know high-end computer. I know there's a lot of Walmart. I mean, there's a lot of places that you can get high-end computer from, and I know you don't have to pay that price. I mean,
Andy,
I definitely would definitely go on that.
Andy, we just agreed on that because Robert said that $1,300 was enough. So we already had, but we didn't vote on it.
Yeah. So just Andy, you have to understand, and I can tell you because when I worked at a hospital, whatever you find online is like with a discount and a sale and all that. When you buy under a company name like the DOE or the hospital, they always pay full price, which I've never understood. But unfortunately, that's the way it is. It's not going to be $2,000. You know, unless you're buying a high-end MacBook, that's you know, that's what it costs. But for a non-MacBook high-end laptop, we're not talking about let's get a cheap one. Cheap one would be $500. $1,300 will go. What I would say is we should allot $3,200 for both a laptop and a high-end desktop, and that would have her covered for and that position for many years, a good 5 years.
Okay, so
I agree. I agree, but I mean, I still want to look into it. But let's move on. Let's move on.
okay, so Paulo,
But I think we do need to allot the money,
so
right?
want to move on so everybody could go eat dinner or whatever.
Okay, let
So
me.
we vote on $3,200.
No, you have to, okay. The easiest way to do this is to move like just big blocks of money that you have from one line to another and leave it. You also need to take into account that you will need $100 and some in that, separate from that line for the hookup.
So $3,300.
So
$3,500.
but then you
35.
yeah,
Sold.
and then what you could do
Andy's gonna have a heart attack.
if she gets no, you know, this is your only opportunity to do this. So it's not a great idea to nickel and dime things. If she needs a camera, she can have an external camera for a laptop, right? So
Yes.
again, it's all covered under that $3,500 for equipment. See, if there's money left over, she can buy a decent recorder, with 2 external mics, right? You just put it in equipment, which is plus the 100 for the whatever, that other line.
Okay, so I get what you're saying, Paula. It's like when our dad sent us to the store and we spend $15, we take 20 from him. Okay, we got
That's exactly right.
yeah. So we'll
They're trying to get you to do it as painlessly as possible. And you sit there like,
plain and simple. So we'll put it at $3,500 and we'll vote on the $2,500 for the computers. All for
Crystal,
the laptop and the desktop.
Crystal, this is your sign-on bonus.
Ooh, lucky me.
Exactly. So all who is in agreement with the $3,500 thumbs up.
okay.
Anyone opposed?
Anyone opposed? I guess not. So you count Crystal. It's
Okay.
7 of us that agree. It's unanimous.
Okay, good. So you have $3,500 now in equipment. You had $200 in meeting expenses, which basically have already been spent, and you won't have any other meeting. And then the P card, I think just the money has to be moved from the P card. That's $500. You want to move it into supplies?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, everybody agrees?
Yes.
Everybody agrees we want to move $500 into supplies?
Yeah.
Yes.
Agree.
Okay.
Anyone opposed?
Anyone opposed? Well, Howard
Okay,
left. We don't know if he opposed.
He's still there.
Oh, you're here, Howard. Do you agree?
Okay, so that's unanimous, 7-0.
So that's unanimous, 7-0.
Okay.
No.
One more thing.
Yeah.
The copier service, Crystal, did you find there are $1,700 budgeted? Would that cover any new copier?
I have that on my phone actually. Hold on a second.
Your copier is going to be repossessed anyway. So.
Oh boy.
It would have been repossessed for non-payment, except that they can't go into schools.
So you need a copier anyways.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
okay. The beauty about leasing, a copier printer is basically that it covers ink, it covers maintenance, it covers everything. And then at the end of the lease, you can, you can always you have the option to upgrade. Whereas if you were actually to buy a printer, you would keep it until it runs into the ground, which is not a good idea. So.
I'm opposed to leasing a printer. I prefer buy a printer because right now with the type of ink that they have the ink that can last you for over 1 year, right? Because I have the total different type of ink printer right now. So I believe in buying a printer instead of leasing a printer. I'm not going to agree to leasing a printer when you can buy a printer and it can last you just 3 years warranty on the printer, and you can still return it back with a 3 years warranty, just like with a lease. And everything come under the warranty, repairs or whatever, same thing. I'm not going to agree to leasing a printer when you can buy one. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm definitely not. I'm not going to go.
Okay, so let Paula answer to that.
So, yes, I know you can buy a printer. I have here a really nice Brother laser printer that does it, but these are actually network printers. They do high volume printing. They're copier printer fax. They're networked with the DOE system so that, she can just print from, from the computer without, and they're maintained by the DOE. Again, they're under a DOE master lease. So it is more expensive than going probably to buy, a small printer, but that's not what these are. These are, these are those big office printers. That's a printer that you have there. And
no, I understand that, but I'm saying I'm buying one of the same big printers that can do the same network, and I'm telling you, I do it all the while because I have my office and I do it all the while, and it still won't cost the amount of money that to rent in a printer. It's not going to cost. It's a no-brainer. I challenged the mayor office. VJ was there for the same exact thing of renting printer when I was down at City Hall. I challenged them about renting a printer. I said buying is thing, and I'm not going to go back on my word because I advocate that at the mayor's office and said we are not going to continue to rent printer to no friend. I'm not going through that. Buy a printer. Buy a printer. I'm not going to go through that.
But Andy, we have to understand that this money is there, and if we don't use it, we're not going to get it to put in our pocket, so we have to spend it. So that's
why we buy a printer. That's why we buy a printer. Buy a high-end printer. We can buy one of the same big printer, Barbara. I'm telling you, it's there.
I understand what you're saying. The recommendations is for us to rent one, or lease one. That's what we're going to do, and let the money go where it lies. So how much is
anyway, Barbara, I understand, but I'm not going to agree to that. I'm definitely not going to agree to that.
Paula, how much do we have to budget tonight? Like,
how much do we have to budget for the printer?
Whether we buy or lease?
You already have the budget. It's already $1,700 is already in the budget because you have a leased printer now. I believe that actually I believe that the lease term, and this is what we couldn't figure out, with the fact that Phyllis left, that the lease term is somewhere in the middle, so that you're obligated for part of this money anyway. The lease is with TGI, and they do the leases, it's a master lease. The lease would not be an individual lease just for you guys, which is why the terms are. And then if the leases, usually the leases somehow end up being in the middle of the year. That lease is up, I'm pretty sure. And if it's up, then you actually have to pay for the time that you had the printer, and then you can also get an updated model, and that's what I'd asked Crystal to do, was to look at whether you could get, that printer is old, what you could get, maybe even get a color printer for about the same amount of money, because they get cheaper every year. The lease gets less every year.
Can I make a suggestion? Can we maybe, Crystal can prepare a brief report on the advantages of rental, and Andy can give us a brief report on the advantages of buying, and that we can make the decision at the next meeting?
I agree.
Okay.
Do we need to have a budget line this meeting?
Well, the budget line is already there. It's
already there. The $1,700 is already there, Ted. So
but
just
some
want
of
to-
it might be committed. Remember that some
Right.
or all of it might be committed
Right.
already. So that's something that we need to take a look at, because I have not been able to get, there was some PO that came through and it kind of got lost. So I'm not really sure where we are, but the reason there is a $1,700 line there already is because you have a printer under a lease. And the only question is whether you're going to, just give it back at the end of that lease and get something else, in which case the lease payment transfers because it's budgeted for the whole year, or whether you're just gonna, give it back and then get something else, in which case, I don't know whether the money is enough or not. I mean, but you have something there.
So in other words, if I can just recap then, in terms of the computers, we budgeted some money. We're good to move forward on that. In terms of the printer, it's okay to wait a month, and that Crystal will give us a little bit of information on what's the best ones to rent. Andy will present the case for why we should buy one, and we'll decide at the next meeting. Is that okay?
That is okay, except if you don't have the
I'm
money
okay.
in the right line, you won't be able to do it. Because that budget mod is only available for next week. So I would suggest that Crystal and Andy do this, tomorrow or Monday, so that you're able to have a meeting next week, quick meeting. If that's all you decide, is fine. But you just have to get 6 people together to make sure that.
We have a Tuesday catch up.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Can we do it on Tuesday?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Does
All
Andy agree? Andy's agrees?
All right.
Yes,
You
I
good?
agree.
Okay, great.
I agree.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
And
So-
just to make sure, Crystal, make sure to do this, because it's Tuesday at 7. The notice has to go out no later than Sunday evening at 7. So this homework needs to be done pretty quickly.
Notice for
For
our
a
check-in.
special business meeting, if you decide to move the money at that point, yes, we can use the check-in, but the check-in has to be a business meeting then. Otherwise, it's
And
not.
it has to be a public notice on the business.
Right. And the public notice has to go out no later than Sunday.
And Sunday, and today's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so 3 days. So both you and Andy have to come up with this solution by tomorrow.
Well, no, they can present it Tuesday. If I understand, Barbara, Crystal just has to do the notice by Sunday, but Andy and Barbara are going to report. Andy and Crystal are going to report on Tuesday. So Andy and Crystal don't really need to do something on the deadline. Crystal just needs to get that notice out. Am I correct on that, Paolo?
Yeah, I mean, if you decide that if we decide that there's enough money, I think it's probably better to bank on having that meeting. That way, we make sure that everything else is to your satisfaction. Once you see it on paper, even the other money that you moved tends to look different. So, you will have time. So I think the safest bet is to just announce a special business meeting for budget modifications for 7 o'clock or 7:30. You could do it can be worked around the check-in, because the check-in is something different. It's just me telling you.
We do it for 7:30. We do the check-in at 7.
Okay, good.
Okay, great.
Okay, everybody agree with that?
Good, I agree.
Sure.
Perfect. That's
Okay.
great. You guys are great.
Okay,
All right.
so one more question, Paula, before we go. Didn't we have money for refreshments for our meetings?
That was the meeting expenses. That was the one.
But we don't have anything in there?
No, you won't have a meeting. You won't have any expenses.
Oh, because I was thinking we would have the expense if we sent dinner to everybody's house. Everybody's house.
I second that.
I like that.
I like that.
No, that's what's going to happen to all the money you don't spend. We just go and have a giant party.
Great, all
So
right.
we send everybody lobster dinner.
Good.
We lobster, whatever we ask, whatever everybody wants. We
Yes, and don't forget the wine. I like these meetings.
Kool-Aid.
Okay.
So you let us know how much money we have left, Paula, and we'll arrange for Crystal to send dinner to everybody's house.
Yeah, now, the
Right.
other thing is remember to put in, make sure that all your member reimbursements before March are all in.
And remember, for the special meeting, at least 7 of us has to show up, right?
Six.
6. So we got to be at
I
this
will tell
meeting.
VJ.
Okay.
But, okay, but you know, you want to have more than 6 because you may not all agree. So, you know,
Right.
I would suggest that just,
Okay.
the bare minimum is probably not a great idea.
All
Yeah,
right.
so I'll talk to VJ and I'll reach out to Erica to see if she could be there. So all of us could be there. So if we disagree, we have majority rules.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's prudent. That would be prudent.
All right. So is there anything else anybody want to say? Raise your hand.
Great meeting.
No.
Okay, so all right. So we're about to go. Good night, everybody.
Thank you,
Good night.
Barbara.
Thank you.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Good night, Andy.
Bye, everyone.
Guys are
Bye.
awesome.
Thank you, Crystal.
Bye.
Good
night, everyone.
It was a wonderful meeting. I like it.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye. Good night. Good night, Andy. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, Joe. Good night.
Good night, Howard.
Good night.
Good night, Robert.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Isaac, no. Bye.